I never thought I'd be the kind of person who would train a dog for a talent show. I mean, sure, I've seen those viral videos of dogs doing backflips and skateboarding down the street, but I always figured those were the result of some kind of magical dog whisperer or a professional trainer with a PhD in canine psychology. But then one day, I found myself staring into the big brown eyes of my rescue dog, Rufus, and I thought, why not? Why not turn this lovable goofball into a star? So I signed us up for the local talent show. I had visions of Rufus dazzling the crowd, performing tricks that would make even the most seasoned dog trainers weep with envy. I started with the basics. Sit, stay, roll over. Easy enough, right? Well, let me tell you, training Rufus was like trying to teach a toddler calculus. He would sit, but only if there was a treat involved. And rolling over? Forget it. He would just flop onto his side and look at me like, is this good enough? I quickly realized that Rufus had his own agenda. He was more interested in chasing squirrels and sniffing every blade of grass than in learning how to perform. I tried to be patient. I read books, watched videos, and even joined an online forum for dog trainers. I was determined to make this work. I envisioned Rufus in a little bow tie performing tricks that would leave the audience in stitches. But every time I thought we were making progress, he would just stare at me, tongue lolling out of his mouth, as if to say, "You do realize I'm a dog, right?" One day I had this brilliant idea. I thought, what if I could combine his love for treats with a fun trick? So I decided to teach him to jump through a hoop. I set up a hula hoop in the backyard and started with the basics. I held a treat on the other side of the hoop and coaxed him to jump through. At first, he just looked at me like I was crazy, but eventually, he took a leap of faith and jumped through the hoop. I was ecstatic. I cheered, I clapped, I even did a little dance. Rufus, however, was more interested in the treat than my enthusiastic celebration. As the weeks went by, we started to build a repertoire of tricks. There was the classic play dead, which turned into play dead, but only after I've rolled around in the grass for a while. There was the spin, which was more like a dizzying pirouette that left him stumbling around in circles. And then there was the dance, which was really just Rufus bouncing on his hind legs while I tried to keep a straight face. I decided to add a little flair to our routine. I thought, why not incorporate some music? So I blasted some upbeat tunes and tried to get Rufus to dance along. Let me tell you, watching a dog attempt to shake it off was one of the most hilarious things I've ever witnessed. He would wiggle his butt and spin in circles, but only if I was dancing too. It was like he was saying, if you're going to embarrass yourself, I might as well join in. As the talent show approached, I started to feel the pressure. I wanted to impress the judges, and more importantly, I wanted to make Rufus proud. I practiced every day, and Rufus, bless his heart, seemed to be having the time of his life. He would bound around the yard, tail wagging, as if he knew we were preparing for something big. The day of the talent show arrived, and I was a bundle of nerves. I dressed Rufus in a little sparkly vest that I had found online, and he looked absolutely ridiculous. I could barely contain my laughter as he pranced around, clearly oblivious to the fact that he was dressed like a canine disco ball. When it was finally our turn to perform, I felt a rush of adrenaline. I led Rufus onto the stage, and the audience erupted into applause. I could see the judges leaning forward, intrigued. I started our routine with the hoop jump, and to my surprise, Rufus nailed it. He jumped through the hoop like a pro, and the crowd cheered. I was on cloud 9. Next up was the play dead trick. I commanded him to roll over, and he flopped onto his side with such dramatic flair that I couldn't help but laugh. The audience loved it. They were eating it up, and I felt like we were on the verge of stardom. But then came the moment that would forever be etched in my memory. I decided to attempt the dance routine, and as I started to shimmy and shake, Rufus joined in. He bounced around, tail wagging, and then suddenly he spotted a squirrel outside the venue. In a split second, he bolted off the stage, leaving me standing there mid-dance, looking like a fool. The audience erupted in laughter, and I could only stand there, mortified yet amused. Rufus chased that squirrel like it was the Olympic Games, and I could hear the judges cracking up. I finally managed to catch up to him, and as I grabbed his collar, I couldn't help but laugh too. I looked out at the audience, who were still roaring with laughter, and I realized that this was the best performance we could have given. In the end, we didn't win any awards, but we did win the hearts of everyone there. Rufus became a local legend, the dog who chased squirrels during a talent show. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Training him had been a wild ride, filled with hilarious moments and unexpected surprises. Rufus may not have become a star, but he certainly stole the show. And as I looked down at my goofy, lovable dog, I knew that we had created memories that would last a lifetime.